What is up, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. Now, first, I don't like doing videos like this out of like respect for the family and just everything. You know what I mean? Like this narrative that we have to keep talking about. But with that said, when people talk about it, it brings attention to things that happen. And one of my least popular, or one of my less popular videos I made last week about Charles Barkley and his comments about the situation regarding Breonna Taylor. And my response to that was, technically Charles Barkley is accurate, but sometimes you just have to say nothing. And this, as you will see, is one of those cases. There's a reason why I say that sometimes you say nothing. It's not because, it's simply because you don't want to be in the way of progress. And in the case of Jonathan Price, if you have not heard, he is yet another in the line of unarmed black men who was killed by the police. It's just a line. My wife is like, "What's his name? Unarmed black man?" I said, "Pretty much." Donald Glover, the great Child Gambino, once said, "We all look the same to the cops. Ain't that good enough?" Which references this idea in the black community that there's only one type of black. There's only one way that you can be. There's only one opinion that you're allowed to have. And if it's outside of that, it's different and therefore not black. Well, with that, in that statement that he made, he's essentially saying, well, yeah, you might view what I'm saying as not black, but in the grand scheme of things, in the eyes of the officers who we all have to face as a community, individually, whatever, we're all the same. And Jonathan Price, again, out of respect to the family, I'm not trying to say anything disparaging. This is an awful tragedy. I'm going to tell you the situation, and then I'm going to tell you the follow-up, because the follow-up is probably what's going to give this story more legs than anything, or at least on social media. This is a gentleman who was called a pillar of the community in this Texas community. He is a former, I think, college football player. He seems to know some high-profile people, which probably helped his case to get a little bit more attention. And just 3 days after he is killed, a police officer has been charged with murder. So give me 1 second. Let me make sure Wait, am I live? Oh, that's super weird. Okay, my bad. All right. So I have another article, but this one gives a nice summary. So here's the story. Texas police officer arrested on suspicion of murder in fatal shooting of Jonathan Price. Give me 1 second. Give you that split screen. Okay. Bow. All right. Just 2 days after 31-year-old Jonathan Price was killed by police officers in North Texas, the Texas Rangers on Monday arrested the officer they said shot him, saying the officer's actions did not seem objectively reasonable, which is obviously crazy, because how frequently do you see charges filed and an officer actually arrested that quickly? Wolfe City police officer Shaun Lucas, who is white, was arrested on suspicion of murder and the death of Price, who was black, the Texas Department of Public Safety said in a statement. Wolfe City officials have declined to comment on the shooting, outside of noting on Sunday that the Rangers were investigating the incident and the officer was on administrative leave pending the investigation. So let's talk about what they say happened, right? On Saturday night, police in the small town about 70 miles northeast of Dallas were called to a disturbance, according to DPS. Merritt said Price had seen a man assaulting a woman and intervened. When police arrived, Merritt said police raised his hands and tried to explain what was happening. DPS said Lucas tried to detain Price, who resisted in a non-threatening posture and began walking away. Lucas fired a taser at Price, then shot him, DPS said. The preliminary investigation indicates the actions of the officer of Officer Lucas were not objectively reasonable and therefore not justifiable force. The agency's statement read. Lucas was booked on the Hunt County Jail on a $1 million bond. According to the Hunt County Jail records, he was later transferred to Rockwall County, WFAA reported. And let's see. Okay. Office officials at Texas top police unions, the Combined Law Enforcement Association of Texas and the Texas Municipal Police Association did not comment on the shooting. Without more information, CLEAT Executive Director Charles Wilkinson said any comment would be speculation. So again, that's actually what I expect. I expect more comments about we don't have enough information. We can't comment on this comment on it this time. We're not going to comment. But seeing that they've actually gone in and arrested this officer just a few days after this event happened, that's pretty crazy, right? That's actually pretty crazy. This comment: what has my interaction been with police? How's my experience been in Oklahoma with police? Pretty good, actually. I've just a few months ago, I was out driving. I hit a curb and got a flat tire. It was raining. Police officer stopped, came over, helped me change my tire, and we kept it moving. As you get older, your interactions with police are going to change, I think. But either way, I'm not going to interrupt someone else getting justice. I'm not going to stop someone else from advancing a change that is to a system that I believe is flawed, right? So what you're not going to hear me say is, if this comes out, he actually was doing something wrong, or he shouldn't have been there. I'm not going to make those videos. I'm not going to say those things, because at the end of the day, if there is wrong that was committed, there was wrong that was committed. And if there is a change that is being pursued, I'm going to allow the change to be obtained, because the change is to benefit the system and all people. It's not about me and being that dissenting voice. We don't need that, which is what I was getting on Charles Barkley about. But like I said, what gives this story, what amplifies this story? Why is this story going to get a little bit different attention than others? Well, apparently this gentleman actually made I don't know if it was viral, but this article says he made this viral post. I guess it would have to have been earlier this year, defending police officers. And it's an interesting statement, because it's like, remember how we talked about Trump getting up on the debate stage the other day, talking about why is Joe Biden always wearing these big masks and blah, blah. He's got all the masks, making jokes, ha, ha, ha. Yeah, this is that. I'm not going to say anything negative, but just here's his statement. This is his Facebook post from June 15th, 2020. With all the tension and animosity going on with race and police all the time, I'm on the same fence as Lil Wayne, with him saying a white cop saved his life and hasn't been too vocal based off experiences. I was raised by the Malones and Woodruffs in my hometown for a large amount of my youth. Was my second family, and they still are in 2020, if I have to say anything. I'm guessing these are white families that, I don't know if he's adopted or foster situation. I don't know, but these are obviously families that are close to him, and so be it. The amount of food fed to me, the money they spent on me outweighs any BS about race or color right now. I have a family that's never done a damn thing for me or supported my business ventures, and they're my blood. They will forever be 1 million in my book. They don't know who they are. They're to blame for my countryside and addiction to white women, not complaining one bit. There were times I should have been detained for speeding, outstanding citations, and outdated registration, dozing off at a red light before making it to my garage downtown Dallas after a long night out. I've passed a sobriety test after leaving a bar in Wiley, Texas, by 2 cops, and still let me drive to where I was headed. And by the way, they considered Wiley, Texas, to be very racist. I've never got that energy from the popo. Not that kind of energy from the popo. Not saying black lives don't matter, but don't forget about your own or your experiences through growth/waking up. Hashtag God's plan. Hashtag stay woke. Hashtag elevate movement. Move different. Knowledge is power. And protect your energy. What's up? So this is interesting, right? Because, unlike with the president, there are many people who look at this statement that he's made and they look at this situation and all they can think is this is another unarmed black man who was killed by the police. And the irony of that is that based on the statement that this gentleman had made, he would seem to be one of the types of people who would step in and make that all lives matter comment or be that voice of dissent in those situations where when there was an unarmed black man who's got that criminal background or something. And again, I'm not trying to make this to be divisive or to be disrespectful. Obviously, it's a tragedy. No one should be killed by the police, and that's always been my position. I feel like we should be pursuing far more non-lethal means to, address situations like this. Again, with the taser that takes the man down, but then somehow this guy shoots this guy. I don't know. I wasn't there. There doesn't appear to be a video, or at least there was a video, or there's some video. I don't know what the video is actually of, but it has not been released inside the convenience store. We only have the few witness statements that are available, and the fact that they have actually gone ahead and arrested this officer is probably pretty significant. But I've heard the charges were murder. I'm not 100% sure if they are, and if this is a first-degree murder case, that's different. I don't know what degree he would be charged with, but that's a serious charge, and I think that's typically the hardest charge to actually prove in situations like this. But again, without seeing footage or being there myself, I really can't say what actually happened. But ultimately, this is a tragedy, and this man shouldn't have lost his life this day. His family shouldn't be burying a relative, and we just got to find a better way to address these situations without having to put people on the ground. But again, it comes back to the question of this was one of the advocates for the police, and by his own statements, he'd never encountered any racism from the police, and it's extremely unfortunate that this situation just spiraled out of control so quickly, because really there's nothing that's stopping anyone from doing anything, whether or not this isn't a matter of a good cop or a bad cop or whatever. Like, you have what you have. Like, they have authority over you regardless. You know what I mean? If they're having a bad day, then they're having a bad day. Or if they're not a good person, they're just not a good person. Like, you don't ever really know who you're dealing with. You don't know what the situation is. And clearly, this is just a situation that, it just didn't need to happen. But the question of, are people going to come to his aid despite his feelings and his statements that he made here? And I don't think there's any real question, because in the black community, I think everyone knows that it's just a matter of time. Not necessarily that something horrible is going to happen to you by the hands of the police or anything like that. It's just people judge you for what they know of you, or if they don't, they judge you by what you look like. And, some people have been fortunate to not think that what they look like has impacted their life at all. But as we see here, it doesn't have to happen multiple times. You only need one negative interaction for your life to change significantly. And it's just a shame that you can be the person who makes this post, and you can be this person who's got the bumper sticker, and you can be the guy who's shouting down the Black Lives Matter group in the crowd. But when you drive down the street and you get pulled over for speeding, none of that matters. They don't know who you are. They don't know what your record is. They don't know what you've done or who you said. None of that is nothing. All they know is what you look like, and that is going to determine how they're going to proceed. I would, of course, say I wouldn't want this to be a divisive thing. There's no question to me that people are going to rally behind this man's death, because he does fit the narrative, regardless. Because to most, logical people, I don't say most logical, to it's not inconceivable that someone would view a situation through the lens of race. You know what I mean? And because of that, these statements aren't going to stop someone for standing up for you if something like this happens. It would be better if you never made these statements, for sure. But no one's going to look at this and say, oh, no, we can't stand up for this guy because he once made that statement on Facebook or Twitter. No, he's just like how the police stand together and they don't say anything if one of their officers is doing something wrong, or they look out for each other. For the most part, if you're a victim, then people look out for you. If you're part of this narrative, then people look out for you. It doesn't matter whether or not you want to be a part of it. So I'm just making this video to make you guys aware of yet another scenario that we got going on. But, ultimately, I would just encourage people to not look at this statement that this guy made and say, oh, this is going to determine how I feel about him or how I feel about his case. At the end of the day, his case just fits the narrative. And if putting it together with the other cases that fit the narrative is going to get to meaningful criminal justice reform, then that needs to be the focus. Anything that's going to divide people who are looking for justice or people who are looking to move the conversation forward is not welcome. It's not helpful. And I would just encourage you not to do it. But with that, I'm going to get out of here. I'm actually supposed to be doing a live stream with, I don't know if it's going to be a live stream. I think I'm supposed to do a live stream with Paget later on today on her channel at, I think she said some 6 my time. So in a couple hours. So I believe it's on her Twitch. She didn't send me the link yet, but that's what I got going on. So I will be there on her channel for that. And yeah, I'll be back with more because we got plenty. But I'm back at the house. Appreciate you guys for coming through. No likes. Come on, people. Let's step it up.